So last week I had a bit of a discovery. I found out that I was able to read Japanese manga, something I hadn't been able to do before, despite having been learning Japanese for the last few years. And this got me thinking about the whole world of anime and manga, something I am slowly dipping my toes into, and how a lot of people want to learn Japanese because of a love of, say, anime, for example. Now, you often hear it said that anime is not the best way to learn Japanese. People will say that the Japanese spoken in anime doesn't reflect real-life Japanese, that the way people talk in anime isn't like real-life Japanese, and this is, to an extent, true. There are some things that characters say in animation, or animation, whatever the language is, that you wouldn't say in real life. The way they talk is heightened, but I think a lot of people, hopefully, understand this when they're learning a language. One of the things these people talk about is how, the language that you pick up from anime isn't going to get you far in real life. It's going to make you get strange looks. People are going to not know what you mean. But I think if you were able to, for example, only use Japanese anime, right, as a resource, if that was all you watched and all you studied, and you'd have to be doing this a lot, if you were able to study and watch so much anime to the point where you understood it without having had any other prior Japanese learning experience, I'm talking no flashcards, no textbook, no teacher, surely then your Japanese is at an okay level understanding-wise. You might have trouble replicating the sounds, but surely your Japanese is somewhere there. Surely, anime would deal with topics like battles and fighting and special abilities that probably won't come up as much in regular day-to-day speech, but the word for carrot, for example, will likely be the same. The word for eat, sleep, drink, those will likely be the same as well. So there is going to be some crossover. Basically what I'm saying is if you know enough Japanese to understand all anime, you know a pretty decent chunk of Japanese. And I'd like to also add that most people don't just use anime to learn Japanese. You get the few people who watch anime as a hobby, as an interest, and they have this thought that, well, if I just keep watching anime, eventually I'll be fluent in Japanese. I'm yet to see someone for whom that is the case. I think there's nothing wrong with including anime in your study schedule. I think it's great. If you have something that you enjoy, that excites you, that keeps you motivated, then sure, go for it. If anime is that thing for you that helps you study and helps you refresh and cool down and you enjoy it, why not go for it? What I'm saying here is, I've never known somebody to just use anime to learn Japanese. If I'm wrong about this, let me know. I'm very curious if anyone's done it. But from what I can tell, most people who have used anime to study Japanese have done it to add on to some fundamentals that already exist. I think if you're going to use anime, and this is just my personal opinion, if you're going to use anime, you need to have some sort of foundation to build upon. So grab a beginner textbook, jump on some sort of app, make some flashcards, do something just to get you started, and then use anime to supplement that. If it's something you can watch, every day or, most days, and you can really engage yourself with it, then I see no harm in using it. As long as you're aware, of course, that the way they talk in anime isn't going to reflect average Japanese life. That's why I also advocate for maybe using some things to go with it that maybe do replicate more realistic ways of speaking Japanese. Things like reality shows, dramas, the news. They all have their own specific point of view and way of talking for a specific purpose. The news is done in a clear, pronounced way that everyone can understand, and it's more about, concrete facts, whereas maybe a reality show is more casual and jokey, and maybe a drama is dramatic acting. They all have their different ways of speaking, but if you can incorporate different things and just pick up on little things and perhaps even just locate vocabulary you've heard. For example, I have been doing it just continuously watching random dramas and things and just trying to, get myself to listen to the Japanese and the way it sounds and get used to the patterns in this language. And one thing the other day I found was this phrase that I hadn't used in a while, but it was in the back of my mind. It was to do with jikan no muda, so a waste of time. And I hadn't heard this phrase in a while. I sort of half knew it, but seeing it in this drama, just, in context, used like that. That cemented that phrase in my head. So now, if I ever see it again, and I'm probably likely to do so because now I'm more aware of it, that understanding is going to be even more concrete. And that was in a drama, where it was a performance. So you got to be aware of how they said it and the way they said it, not being really a realistic representation, perhaps, of how normal Japanese people would do that sort of interaction, but it's still helpful to know. And if I ever encountered it again in like an anime or a manga even, I know what it meant. So that's my 2 cents on the whole learning Japanese with anime debate. I don't think it's completely bad, but I don't think it's the only thing you should be using. If you have actually used Japanese anime, or anime in general, in Japanese to learn Japanese, let me know what you've used and how successful it was for you. Were you able to pick up some things? Did you find it was no help at all? I'm actually quite curious to know about this because it's something that I'm looking into, if that makes sense. But apart from that, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.